He lit a cigarette every morning and still blew out 101 birthday candles. How? Welcome to Elder Secrets, where we uncover the baffling truths behind extraordinary lives. Today's story isn't a green smoothie fairy tale. It's the raw, real habits of a centenary who defied every rule in the book. Let's unravel the mystery.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack stories, insights that really make you rethink things. And today we have a life story that honestly, it almost defies belief. Just try to picture this. A man starts smoking cigarettes at 12 years old. By the time he's 20, he's up to 2 packs a day. In his 30s, 3 packs. By 40, he's hitting nearly 4 packs a day. Every single doctor tells him the same thing. Lung cancer, heart disease, an early grief is inevitable. But here's the kicker, right? This man doesn't just scrape past 50. He lives to be 101, still smoking. And he dies peacefully, natural causes, with absolutely no signs of any smoking-related illness.
Okay, but let's be incredibly clear right from the start. This deep dive, it is absolutely not an endorsement of smoking. Not even close. The science, the overwhelming evidence, it's just unequivocal. Smoking is one of the biggest preventable killers out there, period. Millions die from it every year. What the story of Thomas McKinley represents is, well, it's something much more complex. It's about the incredible, sometimes baffling, diversity of human biology. And it touches on these mysteries, these factors that occasionally let someone just defy the odds, defy what medicine predicts.
That's a really vital point to make. So, our mission today, we're going to unpack the real story of Thomas McKinley. It's documented. We'll explore what his, frankly, extraordinary life might tell us about things like genetics, lifestyle, and how, in these super rare instances, individuals can sometimes just sidestep what medical science says should happen. Let's get into it. This is quite a case. So the story kicks off back in 1920. Thomas McKinley is born in this small industrial town. Think thick coal smoke, factory fumes hang in the air. It's a working class world. And in that world, smoking wasn't just, common. It was pretty much what adults did. His dad smoked, uncles, neighbors, everyone. So when Thomas, age 12, nicks his first cigarette from his dad's pack, it wasn't really rebellion. It was more like, a rite of passage, a step towards being a man in that community. But what's really striking, even back then, is how his body just adapted. Other kids might cough their lungs out, feel sick, not Thomas. Minimal reaction. His mates actually joked he had iron lungs. By 13, he's already on half a pack a day, then a full pack by 18. 2 packs by 20.
And that's what's so fascinating right from the early years. His physiology seemed unique. He's working in a steel mill, a really harsh environment. Heat, dust, fumes. But he's thriving, strong, full of energy. None of the usual coughs or breathing issues lots of his coworkers had. His family doctor, a Dr. Henderson, checks him out when he's 22. And Henderson's expecting, typical signs of a heavy smoker. But nope. He finds this guy has amazing lung capacity, perfect blood pressure, a heart rate like an athlete. Dr. Henderson actually writes in his notes pretty prophetically something like, "Patient presents as extraordinarily healthy despite significant tobacco use." He even added a note about monitoring him because his health just didn't seem to line up with his habits.
Wow, extraordinarily healthy despite. That's quite something for a doctor to note back then. What do you think made him see Thomas as so different, even that early on? Was it just a gut feeling, or were there actual signs?
I think it had to be the stark contrast. What Thomas said he smoked versus the objective medical facts. It just didn't compute. Most people, even young smokers, they'd show something. Some impact on breathing, blood pressure maybe. But him, nothing. Especially given the demanding physical labor. That really made him stand out. And it wasn't just the lack of negative effects. He had this incredible energy. You hear about him running on just 4 or 5 hours of sleep and not just sitting around working hard in a steel mill, smoking heavily. His diet. Pretty standard for the time, meat and potatoes heavy, not a lot of fresh fruit or veg. Drink regularly too, though apparently not excessively. When he married Eleanor at 25, he was apparently the picture of health. Eleanor herself said she just kept waiting, waiting for the smoking to finally catch up with him, but never did.
So he hits his 30s, and the smoking ramps up even more. 3 packs a day, standard. That's 60 cigarettes. Think about it, it's like 5 hours every single day with a lit cigarette. Yet his work didn't suffer. He actually got promoted to shift supervisor at the mill, handled the pressure, kept his energy up.
And Dr. Henderson, his doctor, just got more and more intrigued, scientifically speaking. Every checkup, same story, great heart health, excellent lungs, blood work normal. So in 1952, Thomas is 32. He goes through this really comprehensive testing series at a regional medical center, state-of-the-art stuff for the time, cardiac tests, pulmonary function tests. The results were just Stunning. 0 signs of smoking damage. His lung capacity, it actually beat the normal ranges for his age. The lung specialist, Dr. James Morrison, wrote in his report, this was, and I quote, "the most unusual case I have encountered. No medical precedent."
No medical precedent.
Me too.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just that he tolerated smoke. He seemed resistant to illness generally. Eleanor noticed something else too, right? That he never seemed to get nicotine withdrawal like other smokers did. What's that about?
Yes, and that point, the lack of withdrawal, that's really key because it links right into modern research. We now know there are huge genetic variations in how people metabolize nicotine and all the other stuff in tobacco. Some people, and Thomas was likely one, have gene variants that let them break down these compounds incredibly efficiently. This could mean less buildup of toxins and maybe less physical dependence too. So Thomas hits his 40s and his smoking peaks. We're talking nearly 4 packs a day, 80 cigarettes, and he still looks healthier than guys 20 years younger. Dr. Henderson was just continually baffled. Okay, let's pause here and really underline the context because it's critical. The stats on smoking dangers, they are some of the most solid, most documented facts in all of medicine. Smoking boosts lung cancer risk by like 25 times.
Yeah.
2,500%. Heart disease risk doubles, even quadruples it. For someone smoking like Thomas, 3 or 4 packs a day, the average life expectancy back then was maybe 55, 60. And we know why. The carcinogens mess with DNA. The constant inflammation hammers your blood vessels. The particles scar your lungs. It's a known process.
Right. So Thomas isn't proof that smoking is safe. Not at all. He's what scientists call a statistical outlier, or maybe a phenotypic extreme. It's like flipping a coin a million times, right? You expect about half heads, half tails. But somewhere in that million flips, you're almost guaranteed to get a crazy streak, like 10 heads in a row. That streak doesn't mean the coin's broken. It's just random chance, extreme variation within a huge data set. Thomas is like that impossible seeming streak in human biology. And this is where it gets really fascinating.
Exactly. And modern genetics gives us clues about how this could happen. We know about variations in certain enzymes, cytochrome P450 enzymes. These are basically your body's frontline detox system. Some people have versions that are super efficient at breaking down tobacco toxins. Dr. Rachel Martinez's research suggests some people clear these compounds up to 500% faster, 5 times faster. Then there's DNA repair. Some people's cells are just naturally better, much more efficient at fixing damage before it causes problems like cancer. Plus, genetics can influence inflammation. Some people just have a lower inflammatory response built in, which is huge because inflammation drives so many smoking-related diseases. And you can inherit things like really elastic arteries or a super efficient heart that just resists damage better. Like Dr. Sarah Chen, a geneticist studying these outliers, said, Thomas probably won the genetic lottery in multiple ways simultaneously.
Won the genetic lottery. That really captures it, doesn't it? Almost sounds like pure luck.
Yeah.
But I wonder, beyond the smoking, what else about his long life strikes you as particularly surprising or maybe even instructive?
Well, yeah, genetics is likely a huge piece, maybe the biggest piece, but is probably not the only piece. Think about his lifestyle, even the parts that seem counterintuitive. That hard physical labor in the steel mill. Awful environment, yes, but the work itself was intense cardiovascular conditioning. Maybe that helped offset some damage. And his sleep pattern, just 4 or 5 hours, but apparently very deep, very high quality sleep. That's unusual. Then there's his personality. Reports consistently describe him as even-tempered, rarely stressed, generally content. That psychological resilience is important. And don't forget the social side. Strong social ties, a long, stable marriage. We now know those are major protective factors for health and longevity. It's likely a combination of all these things.
Okay, so fast forward. Thomas is in his 60s, 70s. This is when heavy smokers usually face the really serious consequences, right? They're already gone. But Thomas, he's still going strong, same energy mostly, and still on those 3 to 4 packs a day, a habit for, 40 years by then?
Right. And because there was still skepticism, maybe understandably, Dr. Henderson arranged for this landmark study in 1985. Thomas was 65. He went to a major medical research center for 3 days of intensive tests. Cardiologists, pulmonologists, oncologists, the works. The findings were actually published in the New England Journal of Medicine, a top journal. And get this. After smoking an estimated 876,000 cigarettes over 53 years, they found no detectable signs of tobacco-related disease. None. His lung function, excellent. Cardiovascular system, healthy. No cancer. The conclusion was he was healthier than most non-smokers who were 20 years younger. The lead researcher, Dr. Michael Roberts, made sure to stress just how incredibly rare this was, an extreme outlier.
It's incredible. And he wasn't just not sick, he was actually thriving. He kept working at the mill until he was 70. Then in retirement, super active. Restoring old cars, woodworking, gardening, helping out neighbors. His wife, Eleanor, famously said he was exactly the same person at 75 as he had been at 25. His smoking seemed less like an addiction and more like just something he enjoyed doing, part of his routine. He had a good social life, stayed sharp, didn't have that chronic smoker's cough or raspy voice you often hear.
Exactly. And the medical monitoring didn't stop. Through his 70s, his 80s, the results were consistently the same. No sign that smoking was accelerating his aging. When he was 80, he had another big evaluation, this time at Johns Hopkins. By then, the estimate was around 1.4 million cigarettes consumed. And still, his lungs showed minimal damage. Tests on his cells suggested they were functioning like those of someone decades younger, with enhanced DNA repair activity. It was unprecedented.
By the time he hit his 90s, he was kind of a local legend. Though apparently he didn't like the attention much, just kept saying, I don't do anything special.
Yeah.
His routine at 90, still waking up at 5:30 a.m., coffee, cigarettes, heading out to his workshop. Remarkable consistency. After Dr. Henderson passed away, a geriatrician named Dr. Jennifer Walsh took over, continuing to document his case.
And at 95, he had what would be his last major medical workup. The results. Still fundamentally healthy, still no smoking-related diseases. His overall health profile was comparable to an average non-smoker age 75.
And mentally. Sharp as a tack. He could remember details from way back. He learned how to use a computer when he was 97, started learning Spanish in 99. There's that famous photo from his 100th birthday party, him grinning, cigarette in hand next to his cake. Someone asked if he regretted smoking all those years. His answer was blunt. Why would I regret something that never caused me any problems? I've enjoyed my cigarettes every day.
It's important, though, to echo what longevity experts like Dr. Stephen Ostad say about cases like this. He emphasizes that these extreme outliers, they tell us more about the limits of human variation, the sheer range of possibilities, than they do about general health rules for everyone. It reminds me of Dr. Michael Thun's analogy about parachutes. Just because one person miraculously survives a fall without one doesn't mean you should jump out of a plane without a parachute. Thomas is that 1 in a million survivor. He highlights the rule by being the extreme exception.
Okay, so wrapping our heads around all this, what are the big takeaways? What can we actually learn from Thomas McKinley's unbelievable life?
Well, the biggest thing, number one, is understanding that crucial difference between a single, extraordinary individual case and health advice for the whole population. Medical recommendations have to be based on what helps the vast majority, not the 1 in a million exception. Thomas's survival was almost certainly this incredibly rare perfect storm. Amazing genetics, later analysis suggested he had at least 7 specific gene variants linked to toxin resistance and longevity. The odds of having that exact combo, maybe less than 1 in 50 million. Add to that his environment, his lifestyle choices, maybe just sheer luck. It's a complex mix we can't fully untangle.
Are there lessons within his story that maybe do apply more broadly, even if we didn't win that genetic lottery?
Absolutely. I think there are. Look at his consistency. He had routines. He had purpose every single day for decades. That matters. His social connections were incredibly strong. That stable marriage, his community ties. We know social isolation is terrible for health, actually comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of mortality risk. So connection is huge. Staying active and engaged with things he enjoyed right into very old age. That sense of meaning. And his sleep, while short, was high quality. Quality over quantity might be a lesson there. And maybe most importantly, his mindset. That low stress, even-tempered content outlook. Psychological resilience is a powerful health factor. Those things aren't genetic lottery wins. They are things we can potentially cultivate. But ultimately, his case really underscores a certain humility needed in science. Biology is just fantastically complex, more complex and varied than our current models fully capture. Thomas McKinley pushes our understanding of just how diverse human biology can be. He expands the known limits.
And so, Thomas McKinley's remarkable journey finally ended peacefully. It was March 2021, about 3 months after he turned 101. He passed away quietly, sitting in his favorite armchair. Natural causes related simply to advanced age, and crucially no signs of any smoking-related disease.
Dr. Walsh, the geriatrician who followed him, summed it up perfectly, I think. She said he represented the absolute outer limits of human variation. He maintained a vitality that just seemed to defy biological norms. Even after he died, research continued, confirming those unique genetic advantages, the supercharged DNA repair, better antioxidant systems, cells that look decades younger. His story really does continue to yield insights.
So clearly, Thomas McKinley's life isn't a roadmap for anyone else. You can't smoke 4 packs a day and expect to live to 101. His case is just too extraordinarily rare, like lightning striking the same spot multiple times. But it absolutely leaves us with something profound to think about.
Yeah. In a world where we often crave simple answers, easy formulas for health, Thomas's life is this powerful reminder that the most fascinating truths are usually the most complex ones. His story just highlights how incredible, how unpredictable, and ultimately how mysterious human life can be. It challenges our assumptions, right? And it confirms that sometimes reality is genuinely stranger, maybe even more wonderful than anything we could predict. It really makes you wonder, how much more is there to uncover about human biology, about our potential for resilience that we just haven't even scratched the surface of yet?